Layla's hands trembled as the palace doors opened. 5 years ago, she'd fled this desert with nothing but secrets. Now her son asked why the man on TV had his eyes, and she knew there was no more running. The black car churned dust across the highway toward Wadi Ammar, a city that shimmered like a mirage between ancient cliffs and glass towers. Layla pressed her palm against the window, watching date palms blur past. In the back seat, 4-year-old Kareem hummed to himself, building block towers on his tablet. "Mama, will there be camels?" His Arabic carried the faint British accent she'd tried so hard to preserve, a tether to their London flat to safety. "Maybe," she said. Her throat felt tight. The wedding invitation had arrived 3 weeks ago, cream paper with gold leaf. Her cousin Nadia was marrying into the Al-Rashid family, and tradition demanded Layla's presence. She'd thrown the invitation in the trash twice. But Nadia had called, voice breaking. "Please, you're the only real family I have left." So here she was, driving straight into the heart of what she'd spent 5 years avoiding. The city walls rose ahead, honey-colored stone meeting steel. Layla's pulse hammered. Somewhere beyond those walls, Sheikh Tariq Al-Rashid was preparing for his brother's wedding, probably reviewing security protocols, signing documents, doing everything he'd always done, ruling, controlling, deciding. Never knowing he had a son. Kareem pressed his face to the window. "Mama, look. A castle." Not a castle. The Al-Rashid Palace, sprawling across the clifftop like a sleeping lion. Its white domes caught the afternoon sun. Layla's stomach dropped. "We're not going there, Habibi. We're staying at Auntie Nadia's." But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. In Wadi Ammar, everything orbited the Al-Rashids. There was no hiding. Nadia's apartment sat in the old quarter, where laundry hung between buildings and the call to prayer echoed off stone. She opened the door already crying, pulling Layla into an embrace that smelled like cardamom and desperation. "You came. You actually came." Over Nadia's shoulder, Layla saw the apartment, small, cramped, nothing like the spacious family home Nadia had grown up in. The furniture looked secondhand. A crack ran through the kitchen tile. "Nadia, what happened?" "I thought your father. My father disowned me when I refused to marry his business partner." Nadia's smile was bitter. 42 years old, and suddenly I'm too old and too stubborn. But Rashid's family didn't care about any of that. They saw me for who I am. Kareem tugged Layla's abaya. "Mama, I'm hungry." Nadia's eyes went wide. She crouched to Kareem's level. "And who is this handsome young man?" "I'm Kareem. I'm 4 3/4. 3/4. Very precise." Nadia glanced up at Layla, questions burning in her gaze, but she didn't ask. Not yet. They ate makluba at the kitchen table, Nadia chattering about wedding preparations, about Rashid's kindness, about finally feeling seen. Layla picked at her food, watching Kareem devour his pomegranate seeds with single-minded focus. He had Tariq's hands, long-fingered and graceful. Tariq's stubborn jaw. Those devastating dark eyes that seemed to look straight through pretense into truth. "The wedding is at the palace," Nadia said carefully. 3 days from now. Sheikh Tariq himself will officiate. It's a great honor. Layla's fork clattered against her plate. "You'll come, won't you? As my family?" Nadia reached across the table. "I know you have your reasons for leaving." "I never asked. But Layla, I need you there. Please." How could she explain? 5 years ago, she'd been a translator at the Ministry of Culture, brought in for a diplomatic summit. Tariq had been different then, or she'd thought he was. Late nights reviewing documents had turned into conversations about poetry, about the weight of duty, about the person he was beneath the title. 3 months of secret meetings, of stolen hours in the palace's abandoned wing, of falling in love with a man who could never truly be hers. Then his engagement was announced. A strategic alliance with a powerful neighboring family. She'd confronted him, and he looked at her with those terrible, honest eyes and said, "I have no choice. My people come first. They always have." She'd left that night. Discovered she was pregnant 2 weeks later in a London clinic, rain hammering the windows. The nightmare started that night. Layla woke gasping. sheets tangled around her legs. In the dream, Tariq had been holding Kareem, and when he turned to her, his face had been stone. "You stole this from me," he'd said, and she'd had no answer. She checked her phone. 3:47 a.m. Through the window, Wadi Ammar glittered like scattered jewels. Somewhere in that darkness, Tariq was awake too. He'd always been an insomniac, working through the night, driven by something he could never name. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, Layla Mansour. "The palace has been notified of your arrival. Sheikh Tariq requests your presence tomorrow at 2 p.m. to discuss translation services for the wedding." This is not optional. Her blood turned to ice. The palace gates opened silently, as if they'd been expecting her. A woman in a crisp business suit met her in the marble entrance hall, all efficiency and barely concealed curiosity. "Miss Mansour, the Sheikh is in the East Wing Library. Follow me." Layla's heels clicked against floors that had once been familiar. They passed the courtyard where she and Tariq had first kissed beneath the lemon trees. Past the fountain where he'd told her about his mother's death, voice finally cracking after years of careful control. The library doors were cedar and brass, ancient. The woman knocked once, then left. "Come in." His voice. It went through her like electricity. Layla pushed open the door. Tariq stood by the window, backlit by the desert sun, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. 5 years had carved him sharper. Gray threaded through his black hair now. But he held himself the same way, like a man carrying the weight of nations on his shoulders and refusing to let it show. He turned. Their eyes met. Layla. Just her name. But the way he said it, like a prayer, like a curse, like everything they'd never resolved. "Tariq." She kept her voice level. "I received your message. Though I should mention, I'm here for my cousin's wedding. Not to work." "Yes." Nadia mentioned you'd arrived. He moved toward his desk, putting furniture between them like a barricade. "With a child." There it was. The cliff edge. "My son, Kareem." "How old is he?" She could lie. Should lie. But she'd never been good at deception, and Tariq had always seen through her anyway. 4. The silence stretched like glass about to shatter. 4. Tariq's knuckles went white against the desk. "For years old. Tell me, Layla, do the mathematics work differently in London?" Don't. His voice rose, control finally slipping. "You vanished. 5 years of nothing. No word, no explanation. I searched everywhere. I thought you were dead, or worse. And now you appear with a 4-year-old child and expect me to just what? Politely ignore it. You were engaged." The words exploded out of her. "You stood there and told me duty came first. That we were impossible. What was I supposed to do? Become your secret mistress while you married someone else? Let my child grow up as the palace scandal. You were supposed to tell me." He slammed his hand down and papers scattered. "A child, Layla. My child. You took that choice from me. You'd already made your choice. I broke the engagement." His words fell like stones. 3 weeks after you left. I called it off. I've spent 5 years trying to find you, and you were in London raising my son." The room tilted. "You? What?" I broke it off. There were consequences. Political complications. But I did it because he stopped, jaw clenched. Because you were right. About everything. I was a coward, choosing duty over the person I loved. I spent 5 years trying to fix that mistake. To find you and make things right. Layla's legs gave out. She sank into the nearest chair. I didn't know. I thought that I'd married her? Had heirs of my own by now. Tariq's laugh was hollow. No. The council has been pressuring me to find a suitable wife. Every month, a new candidate. Every month, I find reasons to refuse. Because I kept hoping. He trailed off, but she heard what he couldn't say. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I was angry and hurt and scared. I didn't think. No, you didn't. He turned back to the window. And now we have a son who doesn't know me. Who probably shouldn't know me. Because I'm a stranger who could turn his entire life upside down. Kareem asks about his father sometimes. Layla twisted her hands together. I told him his Baba loved him but couldn't be with us. I didn't know what else to say. Does he know I'm the Sheikh? No. I've kept him away from news about Wadi Ammar. Away from everything. That's not sustainable. Tariq finally faced her again, and his expression had shifted into something harder. The ruler, not the man. The wedding is in 2 days. The palace will be full of guests, press, cameras. Someone will notice the resemblance. Someone always does. Then we'll leave. Tonight, I'll make an excuse to Nadia. And run again? For how long, Layla? Another 5 years? 10? Until Karim is old enough to search for answers himself and discovers his mother fled from his father. Each word landed like a blow. What do you want from me? She whispered. Tariq crossed the room, crouched before her chair so their eyes were level. This close, she could see the exhaustion carved into his face. The years of searching, of hoping. I want to meet my son. Properly. I want him to know who I am, not as a sheikh, but as his father. And I want you to stay. Not for me. For him. Because he deserves the truth. And if the truth destroys everything, then we face it together. His hand moved toward hers, then stopped. I'm not asking you to forgive me, or to forget what I put you through. I'm asking for a chance to be the father Karim deserves. That's all. Layla closed her eyes. Saw Karim's face when he asked about his Baba. Saw the longing there, the hole she'd tried to fill with stories and love and everything except the truth. One meeting. Supervised. If he's uncomfortable, we leave. No arguments. Agreed. She stood, needing distance. Tomorrow afternoon. Nadia's apartment. Come as yourself, not as the sheikh. No guards, no protocol. Just a man meeting his son. Tariq stood too. Thank you. She was halfway to the door when his voice stopped her. Layla? For what it's worth, I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day. She didn't turn around. Couldn't. Nadia took the news with surprising calm, possibly because she'd already guessed. She spent the morning cleaning the apartment, baking date cookies, fussing over details until Layla wanted to scream. Karim sat on the couch, building block towers with intense concentration. Habibi, Layla said carefully. Someone special is coming to visit today. Is it Grandma? He didn't look up from his blocks. No, sweetheart. It's your Baba. The blocks tumbled down. Karim's head snapped up. My Baba? My real Baba? Yes. He's been away, but he wants very much to meet you. Is that okay? Karim launched himself at her, small arms wrapping tight around her waist. Will he stay? Will he come home with us? I don't know yet, Habibi. We're taking things slow. But yes, he really wants to know you. The knock came at exactly 2 p.m. Nadia answered, and there was Tariq in jeans and a simple shirt, hands empty, looking more nervous than Layla had ever seen him. Their eyes met over Karim's head. Come in, Nadia said warmly. Please. Tariq stepped inside, and Karim peeked around Layla's legs. Father and son looked at each other for the first time knowingly. Hi, Karim said shyly. Hi. Tariq's voice was rough. You must be Karim. I'm Tariq. Are you really my Baba? Yes. I really am. Where were you? The child's honesty cut through everything. Tariq glanced at Layla, and she nodded slightly. I was here, Tariq said quietly, kneeling so he was Karim's height. In Wadi Ammar. I didn't know about you, but that's not an excuse. I should have tried harder to find your mama. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you were born, or for your first steps, or any of the important moments. But I'm here now if you'll let me be. Karim studied him with those two perceptive eyes. Mama says you loved me even when you didn't know me. That's true. I loved you before I knew you existed. And now that I know you. Tariq's voice cracked. Now I want to learn everything. What's your favorite color? What makes you laugh? What stories do you like? Blue. Like the sky. And I like it when Mama does the funny voices. And I like stories about horses. I have horses. At my home. Would you like to see them sometime? Karim's eyes went huge. Real horses. Very real. Arabian horses. The fastest, most beautiful horses in the world. Can I, Mama? Please. Layla's throat closed. She looked at Tariq, saw the desperate hope in his face, and nodded. Maybe tomorrow. If Tariq has time. I have time, Tariq said immediately. All the time you need. They spent the afternoon together. Tariq sat on the floor building block towers with Kareem, listening to 4-year-old logic with absolute seriousness. He answered endless questions about horses and the desert and whether camels really spit. He never once mentioned being the sheikh or the palace or anything beyond this small apartment and this small boy who was his entire world. Layla watched from the kitchen, helping Nadia prepare tea neither of them drank. Watching her son's face light up. Watching Tariq smile, really smile, for the first time in probably years. He's good with him, Nadia murmured. He always wanted children. He just thought it was impossible. And now everything's complicated. The wedding morning dawned clear and merciless. Layla helped Nadia into her dress, cream silk with delicate embroidery, traditional but modern, while Kareem played in the next room. Are you nervous? Layla asked. Terrified. Excited. Both. Nadia turned, and her eyes were bright. Thank you for being here. And thank you for letting me see him again yesterday. Again? Tariq. He came back last night after you'd gone to bed. Just stood in the hallway for a minute, staring at the door. He looked. Nadia shook her head. Like a man who'd found water in the desert and couldn't believe it was real. Layla's hands stilled on the zipper. He's been here every day since you left, Nadia continued quietly. The first 3 months were the worst. He had every intelligence service in 6 countries searching. Then he started coming personally, walking the old quarter, showing your picture. Some people pitied him. Most respected him for it. A sheikh searching for a woman he loved, it became this tragic story. I didn't know. How could you? Nadia touched her arm gently. But Layla, whatever you decide about him, about staying, about everything, just know he's already proven he'll fight for you. The question is whether you're ready to fight too. The palace had been transformed. White flowers cascaded down marble columns. The courtyard where Layla had once kissed Tariq now held hundreds of guests in their finest clothes, a symphony of silk and gold and whispered gossip. Layla held Kareem's hand as they entered, both dressed in their own carefully chosen outfits. She'd worn a traditional dress, deep blue with silver threading, modest but beautiful. Kareem looked adorable in his miniature thobe, though he kept tugging at the collar. Too tight, mama. Just for a little while, Habibi. They found seats in the middle section, far enough from the front to avoid attention. But Layla felt eyes on them anyway. Heard the murmurs. A woman with a child. No husband. No family name visible. In Wadi Ammar, such details mattered. The ceremony began with traditional drums. The groom, Rashid Al-Rashid, younger than his brother, but carrying himself with similar grace, entered first. Then Nadia, radiant and nervous, her hand tucked into her father's arm. The same father who'd disowned her, now weeping openly as he walked her down the aisle. And there, at the head of the ceremony, was Tariq. He wore formal robes, white and gold, every inch the chic. His voice carried across the courtyard as he began the ceremony, speaking of love and commitment and the courage it takes to choose your own path. He didn't look at Layla, didn't acknowledge her, but she felt the weight of his awareness like sunlight. Kareem fidgeted beside her. Mama, when does it end? Soon, Habibi. But I'm bored. A few people turned, and Layla flushed. She was trying to quiet Kareem when she heard the whispers start. Is that the resemblance? Sheikh Tariq's eyes. No, that's impossible. The ceremony continued, but the murmurs grew. More people turned to stare. Layla's heart hammered. This was what she'd feared. This exposure. This judgment. She stood, pulling Kareem with her. Come on. We're leaving. But Mama. Now, Kareem. They were halfway to the exit when a voice cut through the courtyard. Layla. Wait. She froze. Everyone froze. Tariq stood at the front. Ceremony paused. Hundreds of eyes on him. On her. On the child between them. Please, he said, and the formality was gone from his voice. Just raw honesty. Please don't leave. Tariq, don't do this. Not here. Where else? He stepped down from the platform, moving toward her through the crowd that parted like water. You've given me 3 days with my son. 3 days after 5 years, and now you're going to vanish again because people are looking? Because they're whispering? This isn't fair. None of this is fair. He was close now, close enough that she could see the desperation in his eyes. Not to you. Not to Kareem. Not to anyone. But I'm done pretending. I'm done with secrets and duty and doing what's expected instead of what's right. He turned to face the crowd, and his voice rang out clear. This is Layla Mansour. 5 years ago, I loved her and I lost her because I was a coward who chose politics over my heart. 3 days ago, she returned to Wadi Ammar, and I discovered I have a son. A 4-year-old boy named Kareem who likes horses and blue skies and building block towers. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. This would be headline news within minutes. I know what you're all thinking, Tariq continued. That this is a scandal. That a sheikh should have handled this differently. Should have kept it quiet, managed it through proper channels. Maybe you're right, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of managing. I want my family. I want my son to grow up knowing his father loves him enough to claim him in front of the world. And I want Layla to know that if she'll have me, I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving she made the right choice. He turned back to her, and his voice dropped to something only she could hear. I'm not asking you to decide now. I'm just asking you not to run. Stay. Let me prove I've changed. That I'm not the man who hurt you. Kareem tugged her hand. Mama? Why is everyone looking at us? She looked down at her son. At his confused face. At those eyes that mirrored his father's. Then up at Tariq, standing there with his heart visible for anyone to see. All her carefully built walls crumbled. You're sure about this? She asked quietly. Once you claim us publicly, there's no taking it back. Your council will fight you. The press will crucify us. People will say terrible things. Let them. His hand reached for hers. I'm sure. She took his hand. Felt his fingers close around hers with desperate relief. Then we stay. The courtyard erupted, some in applause, some in shock, some in outrage. But through it all, Tariq pulled her close, pulled Kareem between them, and created a small circle of 3 against the world. Thank you, he breathed against her hair. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We have a lot to figure out. We have time. Nadia's voice called out from the front, laughter in it. Are you two finished? Because I'd really like to get married now. The crowd laughed, tension breaking, and Tariq grinned, that rare, genuine expression that transformed his entire face. Sorry. Please continue. They moved to seats in the front row, the 3 of them together, and the ceremony resumed. But everything had changed. The whispers continued, but they were different now. Curious rather than cruel. Interested rather than judgmental. The reception was chaotic. Well-wishers and critics alike swarmed them. Nadia's new father-in-law, the elder Sheikh Al-Rashid, pulled Tariq aside with a face like thunder. Layla couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw the moment Tariq's expression hardened into something immovable. The boy is my son, Tariq said, loud enough for her to catch. That's not up for debate. If you have concerns about my fitness to rule, we can discuss them. But Kareem is not a political problem to be solved. He's my family. The elder sheikh studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I taught you to put duty first. Perhaps I was wrong. Or perhaps this is what duty looks like, a man claiming his responsibilities, no matter the cost. Later, Layla stood on the palace balcony, watching the party continue below. The stars were emerging, sharp and clear in the desert sky. There you are. She turned. Tariq approached carefully, like she might bolt. Kareem fell asleep in the children's room, he said. He's snoring like a tiny freight train. He gets that from my side of the family. Good to know. He came to stand beside her, both of them looking out over the city. The council wants to meet tomorrow. They have concerns. I bet they do. I'm going to tell them what I told my uncle. That Kareem is my son. That you're the woman I love. That none of that is negotiable. They can accept it or find a new sheikh. Layla's breath caught. You give up your position? In a heartbeat. He turned to her. I've spent 5 years learning what matters. Duty isn't sacrifice if it costs you everything that makes life worth living. I won't choose wrong again, Layla. Not ever. What if I'm not ready? The words came out raw. What if I need time to trust this? To trust you? Then I'll wait. I'm good at waiting. His smile was sad. I've had practice. She studied his face in the starlight. Saw the truth there, stark and undefended. I spent 5 years angry at you, she admitted. Building a life that didn't include you. Teaching myself not to hope. And now you're here, and you're saying everything I once wanted to hear, and I'm terrified. Of what? Of getting this wrong. Of Kareem getting hurt. Of believing this and having it taken away. Tariq reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her face with infinite gentleness. I can't promise we'll get everything right. I can't promise it won't be hard. But I swear to you, Layla, I will never walk away. Not from you. Not from Kareem. Not from us. Even if you need time. Even if you're not ready. I'm here. For as long as it takes. The tears came then, 5 years of them, and he pulled her into his arms and held her while she shook. I love you, she said into his shoulder. I never stopped. I tried, but I couldn't. I know. I know. His voice was rough. I love you too. I've loved you since the night you fell asleep translating poetry, and I realized I'd spend every night for the rest of my life, watching you work if you'd let me. She pulled back enough to see his face. Kareem needs stability. A real home. Not palace intrigue and politics. Then we'll make that happen. However, it needs to look. I have a life in London. A job. Friends. Bring them here. Or we'll split time. Or we'll figure out something no one's thought of yet. I don't care about the logistics, Layla. I just care about you both being happy. She searched his eyes. Found only the truth. One step at a time, she said finally. We date. We figure out how to co-parent. We let Kareem adjust. And we see where it goes. I can work with that. And if your council tries to interfere, they won't. His expression hardened. I've made that clear. Tariq. Yes. Kiss me. His eyes widened. Then it darkened. Are you sure? I'm sure about this one thing. Everything else we'll figure out. But right now, I just want you to kiss me like you mean it. He did. 5 years of longing poured into one moment. His hands in her hair. Her fingers clutching his robes. The taste of him, familiar and new all at once. The desert wind wrapping around them both. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Tariq pressed his forehead to hers. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making this work, he said. I promise you that. Good. She smiled, and it felt like breaking open. Like letting light in. Because I'm going to hold you to it. Below them, the party continued. Music drifted up, laughter and celebration. Inside, their son slept peacefully, dreaming of horses and fathers and new beginnings. And somewhere in the future, still uncertain, still being written, was a life they'd build together. Not perfect. Not easy. But theirs. Come on, Layla said, taking his hand. Let's go check on Kareem. Together. Together. They walked back inside hand in hand, and for the first time in 5 years, Layla felt like she was finally home. 6 months later, Kareem stood in the palace stables, feeding carrots to a gentle mare named Jasmine. Layla watched from the fence while Tariq showed their son how to brush the horse's mane with careful strokes. Like this, Baba? Perfect. You're a natural. They'd moved slowly. Dinners together. Trips to the park. Kareem's gradual understanding that his Baba lived in Wadi Ammar, but Mama's job was in London, and they were figuring out how to make both work. There were still complications, council members who objected, press that scrutinized their every move, logistical nightmares about custody and schedules. But there were also moments like this. Quiet. Simple. Real. Tariq caught her eye over Kareem's head and smiled. That same smile that had undone her 5 years ago in a palace library. That same smile she woke up to now more and more often, in the apartment they'd chosen together, halfway between the palace and Nadia's place, belonging to neither world and both. Her phone buzzed. A text from the London office, asking when she'd return. She'd been splitting time, 3 weeks there, 3 weeks here, trying to maintain both lives. It was exhausting. It was complicated. It was worth it. Mama, look. Kareem called. Jasmine likes me. She has excellent taste, Layla called back. That evening, after Kareem fell asleep between them on the couch, one hand clutching his father's sleeve, Tariq turned to her. I've been thinking. Dangerous habit. He smiled. The council agreed to let me step back from some duties. Appoint more advisors. Delegate. It would give me time to travel more. To London, maybe. You hate London. You said the weather makes you depressed. I'd learn to love it. For you. She studied him. This man who'd stood in front of hundreds and claimed them. Who'd learned to change Kareem's diapers and negotiate bedtimes and do the million small things that made a father real instead of theoretical. Or, she said slowly, I could move here. Not to the palace. Not as some official consort. Just here. With you. With us. You give up London? I'd be giving up rain and terrible coffee for sunshine and a family. That's not really a sacrifice. She threaded her fingers through his. Besides, Nadia offered me a job at her cultural center. She's expanding, needs someone who understands both worlds. And Kareem would have stability. Real roots. Are you sure? I don't want you to give up your life for me. I'm not giving anything up. I'm choosing something better. She leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm choosing us. His arm came around her. When? Let's say 3 months. Time to wrap things up in London. Give notice. Ship my books. Your terrible romance novels? They're not terrible. They're hopeful. They're ridiculous. And yet here we are, living one. He laughed quietly. Fair point. Kareem stirred between them, mumbling in his sleep. Tariq adjusted his hold automatically, careful not to wake him. He called me Baba today, Tariq said softly. Not my name. Just Baba. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. It is natural. You're his father. I almost missed all of this. That terrifies me sometimes. If you hadn't come back for the wedding. If Nadia hadn't insisted. If any of 1,000 things had been different. But they weren't. We're here now. We're here now, he repeated, like a prayer. And in this small apartment, in this small moment, 3 people who'd almost missed each other held on tight to what they'd found. It wasn't perfect. There would still be challenges, council meetings and press scrutiny and Kareem's inevitable teenage rebellion years down the line. There would be fights and compromises and days when the distance between their worlds felt impossible. But there would also be this. Quiet evenings. Shared laughter. The weight of Kareem's sleeping body between them. Tariq's hand in hers. I love you, she said. I love you too. He turned to press a kiss to her temple. Both of you. My whole world. So dramatic. It's true. And it was. Somewhere in the city, in a palace office, an engagement contract lay unsigned. Because the Sheikh had finally learned that some choices couldn't be delegated or negotiated or shaped by duty. Some choices were just love. And love, Layla had learned, was worth fighting for. Worth coming back for. Worth building a life around, one imperfect, beautiful moment at a time. Kareem's hand tightened around Tariq's sleeve, and he made a small sound, half contentment, half dream. Tariq adjusted the blanket over him, movements practiced now after months of learning. He's getting heavy, Layla murmured. We should move him to bed. 5 more minutes. She smiled against his shoulder. You always say that. He's only small once. I already missed 4 years. I'm not rushing the rest. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights blur into darkness. Then Tariq's phone buzzed, the 3rd time in 10 minutes. He ignored it again. You should check that. It's just the council. They can wait. Tariq. He sighed and carefully extracted his phone, keeping one arm secure around Kareem. Read the message. His expression shifted, surprise, then something darker. What is it? My father's family. The ones from Riyadh. His voice was tight. They filed a formal petition with the council. They're challenging Kareem's legitimacy, claiming I can't name him heir without proper documentation, blood tests, formal recognition procedures. Layla's stomach dropped. Can they do that? They can try. The law is murky on children born out of wedlock, even if both parents acknowledge them. He set the phone down carefully, like it might explode. They want to force me into a corner. Either I fight this publicly, subjecting Kareem to invasive procedures and media scrutiny, or I quietly agree their candidate has a better claim to succession. What candidate? My cousin Samir. He's been positioning himself for years. This is just his latest move. Layla looked down at Kareem's peaceful face. Thought about reporters shoving cameras at him. Lawyers questioning his existence. Blood tests and documents and strangers deciding whether he was real enough, legitimate enough, worthy enough. We don't have to do this, she said quietly. You could choose someone else as heir. Let Kareem grow up normal. Away from all this. Is that what you want? I want him safe. I want him happy. The rest doesn't matter. Tariq was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of years. When I was 8, my father took me to the old city. Showed me the souk where his grandfather had sold dates. The mosque where generations prayed. He said, this is what we protect. Not power. Not wealth. The people who call this home. That's what being Sheikh means to me. It's not about palaces and titles. It's about responsibility to something larger than yourself. He looked down at Kareem. I want Kareem to have choices. To know he can be anything, artist, teacher, horse trainer, whatever makes him happy. But I also want him to know where he comes from. That he has roots here. That his name means something because generations of people built something worth protecting. He met Layla's eyes. If we run from this, we're telling him his existence is something shameful. That he's less than. I won't do that to our son. Even if it gets ugly? Especially then. Because he needs to see that we fight for him. That he's worth fighting for. Layla's throat tightened. She thought about her own childhood, the quiet shame of being raised by a single mother in a culture that judged such things. The whispers. The careful distance other families maintained. She'd promised herself Kareem would never feel that particular loneliness. Okay, she said. We fight. But we do it smart. And we protect him from the worst of it. Agreed. Tariq's jaw set in that stubborn line she knew well. I'll call an emergency council meeting tomorrow. Make it clear that anyone challenging Kareem's legitimacy is challenging me directly. That'll make you enemies. I already have enemies. At least these ones are honest about it. The council chamber was ancient stone and cedar, built when the Al-Rashid dynasty was just beginning. 14 men sat around the table, elders, advisors, power brokers who'd shaped Wadi Ammar for decades. And at the head, looking younger than all of them but carrying authority like a weapon, sat Tariq. Layla watched from the gallery, Nadia beside her for moral support. Below, Tariq's cousin Samir leaned back in his chair with calculated ease, fingers steepled. Let's begin, Tariq said. I understand there's been a petition filed regarding my son's status. I'd like to address it directly. Sheikh Tariq. The eldest council member, Ibrahim, spoke carefully. No one questions your right to have a child. But succession law requires certain protocols. Documentation. Formal recognition. The boy was born in England without witnesses, without what? Tariq's voice cut like a blade. A marriage certificate? Is that what you're dancing around? Uncomfortable silence. The law is clear, Samir said smoothly. An heir must be born of a recognized union. Otherwise, anyone could claim. Are you suggesting Layla is lying? Tariq leaned forward. That we've fabricated a child for political gain? By all means, Samir. Say it plainly. Samir's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm suggesting we follow proper procedure. Blood tests. Documentation. Investigation into the timeline of events. Surely if the child is truly yours, you have nothing to fear from transparency. And in the meantime, while you investigate, Kareem becomes headline news. Photographers follow him to playgrounds. Strangers analyze his face, debate his legitimacy, tear apart his mother's character on social media. Tariq's voice was ice. That's what you're really asking for. Not truth. Spectacle. If the boy's claim is genuine, Ibrahim began. His claim. Tariq stood abruptly. He's 4 years old. He claims nothing except the right to be a child. To have a father who loves him. To grow up without being treated like a political problem. He looked around the table. I will submit to whatever documentation you require. Blood tests, legal affidavits, everything. But the investigation will be private, conducted by neutral third parties, and the results sealed until Kareem is old enough to consent to their release. Those are my terms. That's highly irregular, another council member protested. So is ambushing a child's legitimacy 6 months after I've publicly claimed him. Tariq's gaze swept the room. If anyone here has genuine concerns about succession, we can discuss appointing a regent, establishing a council of elders, restructuring governance entirely. But Kareem is my son. That is not up for debate. If you can't accept that, then perhaps we need to reconsider whether this council serves the people or just its own interests. The threat hung in the air. Tariq was offering to dismantle the very structure that gave these men power. Samir's expression finally cracked. You'd tear down centuries of tradition for one illegitimate. Finish that sentence. Tariq's voice was deadly quiet. Please. I want everyone here to hear what you really think of my son. Samir went pale. Ibrahim cleared his throat. Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. Sheikh Tariq has been a fair and effective leader. If he's willing to provide documentation, conduct appropriate tests under sealed conditions, that should satisfy concerns about legitimacy. The boy's status can be formally recognized once procedures are complete. How long? Tariq demanded. 3 months. Maybe 4. 2. And during that time, no one speaks to the press. No leaks. No speculation. If I find out anyone in this room has violated that confidence, I'll consider it a personal betrayal. Understood. One by one, they nodded. Even Samir, though his jaw was clenched. Good. Then we're done here. Tariq strode from the chamber, and Layla met him in the corridor outside. He looked exhausted, anger still simmering beneath his careful control. That was impressive, she said quietly. That was necessary. They'll respect the agreement for now, but Samir won't stop. He'll find another angle. Let him. We'll deal with it. She took his hand. Together. He pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair. I'm tired, Layla. Tired of fighting. Of justifying. Of defending our right to exist as a family. I know. But you did it anyway. That's what matters. They stood there in the ancient corridor, 2 people trying to build something new in a place weighted by tradition. It wasn't fair. It wasn't easy. But when Tariq finally pulled back and met her eyes, there was steel there alongside the exhaustion. 2 months, he said. We get through the next 2 months. Then everything's formalized. Kareem's protected. And anyone who wants to challenge us will have to go through hell first. What happens in 2 months? His smile was sharp. I'm making a formal announcement. Kareem's status as my heir. Your role as, well, that depends. On what? On whether you'd consider marrying me. Layla's breath caught. Is this a proposal? God, no. When I propose, it'll be romantic. Planned. Special. This is just me asking if you'd theoretically consider it. Someday. When the timing's right. She studied his face. Saw the hope there, carefully guarded but present. Theoretically, she said slowly, I might consider it. If someone asked properly. With a ring and everything. Noted. But Tariq? I don't want to get married just to satisfy your counsel. Or to make Kareem's status easier. If we do this, it's because we want forever. Not because it's politically convenient. I know. He touched her face gently. That's why I haven't asked yet. When I do, it'll be for all the right reasons. I promise you that. She leaned into his palm. Good. Because I'm only planning to do this once. Once is all I need. They walked back through the palace hand in hand, past portraits of previous sheiks who'd never faced quite this situation. Past rooms where tradition was written in marble and gold. But they were writing something new now. Something that might just work. That night, Kareem woke up crying from a nightmare. Layla reached for him automatically, but Tariq was faster. Hey, Habibi. I've got you. You're safe. There were monsters, Kareem sobbed against his father's shoulder. Big ones with teeth. No monsters here. Just me and Mama. And we're both excellent monster fighters. Really? The best. I once scared away a monster just by telling it about tax policy. It ran screaming. Despite his tears, Kareem giggled. That's not real. You sure? Because monsters hate tax policy. Everyone knows that. Layla watched from the doorway as Tariq carried Kareem back to bed, kept talking in that low, soothing voice until their son's breathing evened out. Watched him tuck the blankets in with careful precision, kiss Kareem's forehead, wait those extra few minutes to make sure he was truly asleep. This was the man people challenged. The father they questioned. They were idiots. Tariq finally emerged, pulling Kareem's door mostly closed behind him. He's out. Dreaming about horses, probably. Or tax policy. That too. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. Do you ever think about how different this could have been? If I'd been braver 5 years ago. If you'd stayed. Sometimes. But then we wouldn't have exactly this Kareem. Exactly this moment. I'm not sure I'd change it, even if I could. Really? The hard parts made us who we are. Made us ready for this. If everything had been easy 5 years ago, maybe we wouldn't have known how to fight for it now. He turned her to face him. You're very wise. I'm very tired. There's a difference. Come to bed. They curled up together in the darkness, and Layla felt the future approaching like a wave. The announcement, the formal recognition, the inevitable media storm. But she also felt Tariq's heartbeat steady against her back. Heard Kareem's soft snoring through the wall. Whatever came next, they'd face it as a family. That was enough. The formal announcement came 6 weeks later, once all the documentation was sealed and filed. Tariq stood before the press in the palace's main hall, Layla beside him in a dress that walked the line between traditional and modern, and Kareem, blessedly unaware of the significance, sitting on his father's hip. Cameras flashed like stars. Thank you all for coming, Tariq began. I have an announcement regarding my family and the line of succession. The room went silent. 6 months ago, I reunited with Layla, the woman I've loved for 5 years. I also met our son, Kareem, for the first time. After consultation with the council and completion of all necessary legal procedures, I'm formally recognizing Kareem as my heir. All documentation has been filed with the appropriate authorities. Questions regarding legitimacy have been thoroughly investigated and resolved. A reporter's hand shot up. Sheikh Tariq, what about the controversy regarding? There is no controversy. There's only a family doing what families do, loving each other, supporting each other, building a future together. Next question. What role will Miss Layla play in? Layla is Kareem's mother and my partner. She'll be involved in all decisions regarding our son's upbringing and education. Beyond that, we're still figuring things out. Like any normal couple. But Sheikh Tariq, surely. I said we're figuring it out. That's the honest answer. He looked down at Kareem, who was playing with his formal collar. My son didn't ask to be born into this life. But now that he's here, he deserves privacy, protection, and the chance to just be a kid. So I'm asking, respectfully, that the media give him space to grow up. You'll get your photos at formal events. You'll get official statements when appropriate. But his daily life is off limits. His childhood is not public property. Another hand. What message does this send about tradition? And it sends the message that people matter more than protocol. That love counts. That families come in different shapes, and we're stronger for embracing that instead of fighting it. Tariq's voice softened. My father taught me that leadership means protecting your people, all of them. Including the 4-year-old who just wants to play with horses and learn about the world. So that's what I'm going to do. He stepped back from the podium, clearly signaling the end of official questions. Last thing, he added. To anyone who doubted whether I'd claim my son publicly, you have your answer. To anyone who thinks they can use my family as political leverage, test me and see what happens. And to Layla and Kareem, thank you for giving me the chance to be part of your lives. You're everything. He didn't wait for the explosion of follow-up questions. Just walked off the platform with his family and let the world make what it would of them. 3 months later, on a beach far from Wadi Ammar where no one knew who they were, Tariq finally asked properly. They'd flown to a small island, just the 3 of them, and minimal security. Kareem was building sandcastles while the sun set in impossible colors. Layla sat nearby, toes in the water, watching her son work with that intense focus he'd inherited from both of them. He's going to be upset when the tide comes in, she said as Tariq joined her. We'll rebuild tomorrow. That's what's great about sandcastles. Philosopher King over here. I try. He was quiet for a moment. Then, Layla, I have something for you. She turned. He was holding a small box, and his hands were actually shaking. Tariq, let me say this before I lose my nerve. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple gold band with a single clear stone, nothing ostentatious. This was my mother's. My father gave it to her when they were students and had nothing. She wore it her entire life, even after he became sheikh and could afford 1,000 rings more expensive. She said this one mattered because it was chosen with love, not obligation. Layla's vision blurred. I'm not asking you to be my wife because it's politically convenient, he continued. I'm not asking because of Kareem or the council or tradition. I'm asking because I wake up every morning grateful you're there. Because you make me laugh when I'm taking myself too seriously. Because you're the bravest person I know and the kindest, and I want to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. His voice cracked. Will you marry me? Not as the sheikh asking. Just as Tariq. Just as the man who loves you. She couldn't speak. Could only nod, tears streaming, while he slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. Is that a yes? Yes, you idiot. Obviously yes. He kissed her then, while the sun melted into the ocean and their son played, oblivious, in the sand. Kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. Like they'd fought their way through 5 years of separation and 6 months of politics and countless obstacles just to arrive at this exact moment. Mama, Papa, look at my castle. They broke apart laughing. Coming, Habibi. Kareem had built an elaborate structure with towers and walls and a moat. He looked up proudly as they approached. It's for us. Our family castle. See? 3 towers. 1 for each. Tariq crouched beside him. It's perfect. Best castle I've ever seen. Will you help me make it bigger? Absolutely. But first, I have to tell you something. Mama and I are getting married. Which means we'll all live together all the time. How do you feel about that? Kareem considered this seriously, then broke into a huge grin. Will you still tell me stories? Every night. And take me to see the horses? Whenever you want. Then okay. We can get married. Well, I'm glad we have your permission, Layla said, laughing through tears. They spent the rest of the evening building sandcastles as a family. When the tide finally came in and washed everything away, Kareem wasn't upset. He just turned to his parents and said, tomorrow we'll build a better one. And they did. 1 year later. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends in the palace gardens at sunset. Nadia stood as Layla's witness, tears streaming down her face. Tariq's uncle officiated, voice warm with approval. Kareem stood between them, holding the rings on a cushion, taking his job with utmost seriousness. Do you, Tariq Al-Rashid, take Layla Mansour? I do. Absolutely. Without question. Laughter rippled through the guests. Let me finish the question, his uncle protested. Sorry. But yes. Whatever you're asking. The answer is yes. When it was Layla's turn, she took Tariq's hands and spoke directly to him, forgetting the formal words entirely. I take you. All of you. The sheikh and the man. The ruler and the father. The person who makes me laugh and drives me crazy and fought for us when it would have been easier to walk away. I take every future we'll build together. I'll accept that, his uncle said dryly. You may kiss. They were already kissing. Kareem tugged on Tariq's robes. Does this mean we're a real family now? Tariq broke away long enough to lift his son into his arms. We've always been a real family, Habibi. This just makes it official. Good. Can we have cake now? Yes. Let's have cake. They walked together toward the reception, husband, wife, and son, while the desert sun painted everything gold. Behind them, guests cheered. Ahead, their future waited, uncertain and beautiful. It wasn't the story Layla had imagined 5 years ago when she'd fled to London, pregnant and alone. It wasn't the life Tariq had expected when he'd chosen duty over love. But it was theirs. And sometimes, the best stories are the ones you write together, one imperfect, courageous choice at a time. Click on the subscribe button if you like their love story. And comment on your favorite scene.